The unkillable soldiers. War had always been a part of humanity's history. But when Earth was finally united under a single banner, humanity turned its eyes to the stars, seeking peace among the stars. They entered the galactic stage cautiously, finding an expansive community of advanced alien civilizations that had long abandoned war in favor of diplomacy and trade. Yet, peace was fragile in this vast galaxy, and there were those who sought to dominate rather than coexist. The Rahn Dominion was one such power, a militaristic species with technology far superior to Earth's. When humanity's exploratory fleets ventured too close to Rahn territory, it didn't take long for hostilities to erupt. The Rahn saw humans as primitive and fragile, a species unworthy of the stars. They declared war, confident that the conflict would last mere weeks. They had crushed dozens of civilizations before, leaving only ashes in their wake. But humans were not like the others. The first major clash took place on the barren world of Icaron IV. The Rahn deployed an overwhelming force, thousands of soldiers, armored vehicles, and orbital bombardments. Humanity's coalition, the Earth Defense Initiative, EDI, sent only one battalion, the 77th Expeditionary Division, a group of soldiers nicknamed the Unkillables. The Rahn didn't understand the name at first. They would. Captain Alara Kane stood atop a ridge overlooking the battlefield. The 77th had been dropped into the heart of enemy territory with only the most basic equipment, their armor, weapons, and a week's worth of supplies. The odds were impossible. The Rahn controlled the skies and had fortified the planet with mechanized infantry and heavy artillery. But Captain Kane didn't see fear in her soldiers' eyes. She saw determination. "All right, 77th, she said, her voice calm but commanding as it echoed through the comms. "You know the drill. They've got the numbers, the firepower, and the high ground. But we've got something they'll never understand." "And what's that, Cap?" Sergeant Reyes grinned, his voice crackling with static. "We've got grit," Kane replied. "Now, let's remind them what humans are made of." The battle began as expected, brutal. The Rahn unleashed a barrage of firepower that turned the landscape into a smoking wasteland. Explosions rocked the ground, and the air was thick with the acrid scent of burning metal and ozone. The 77th's positions were bombarded relentlessly, and the Rahn's infantry advanced in disciplined waves. It should have been a massacre, but it wasn't. The first Rahn wave reached the human lines and was met with fierce resistance. Human soldiers fought with a ferocity that left the Rahn stunned. Their advanced weapons seemed less effective against human armor than anticipated, and the humans' tactics were unpredictable, chaotic, and brutally efficient. Kane's troops didn't just hold the line. They pushed the Rahn back, forcing them to regroup. What the Rahn didn't know was that the 77th wasn't ordinary. They were the product of humanity's most ambitious and controversial military project, the Immortality Protocol. Each soldier's body had been augmented with nanotechnology, self-repairing tissue, and cybernetic enhancements. When a soldier fell in battle, their body would regenerate within minutes. Even catastrophic injuries, like severed limbs or destroyed organs, were repaired in hours. And if the damage was too great, their consciousness was uploaded to an onboard neural system and transferred to a new body. The Rahn learned this the hard way. When one of their soldiers killed a human, they would turn away, confident that the enemy was dead. But minutes later, that same human would rise again, bloodied but alive, and rejoin the fight. To the Rahn, it was like fighting ghosts. The second day of the battle saw the Rahn deploy heavier firepower. Orbital strikes rained down on the 77th's positions, carving craters into the landscape. Yet, when the dust settled, the humans were still there. The Rahn's commanders grew frustrated, their arrogance giving way to fear. How could a species as fragile as humanity survive such relentless assault? By the third day, the Rahn's morale began to crumble. Their soldiers whispered of unkillable demons in the human ranks. Some refused to advance, terrified of fighting an enemy that wouldn't stay dead. Meanwhile, the 77th's soldiers fought tirelessly, their spirits unbroken despite the constant bombardment. Captain Kane became a legend among her troops, leading from the front and rallying her soldiers with fearless determination. But even the 77th wasn't invincible. The Immortality Protocol had its limits. Each regeneration taxed their bodies and minds, and the psychological toll of dying and returning to life again and again began to wear on them. Kane herself had died 6 times since the battle began, and each time she returned, she felt a little less human. "Captain," Reyes said during a rare lull in the fighting, "how long can we keep this up?" Kane didn't answer immediately. She stared at the horizon, where the Rahn's war machines were regrouping for another assault. "As long as we have to," she said finally. "If we fall here, Earth falls." "You think they'll ever stop coming?" "They will," Kane said, a fierce glint in her eyes. "Because we're going to make them." On the 5th day, the 77th launched a counteroffensive. Using guerrilla tactics, they infiltrated the Rahn's command center, a heavily fortified bunker surrounded by automated defenses. Kane led the assault personally, her team carving a path through the Rahn's elite guards. They planted explosives on key systems, crippling the Rahn's ability to coordinate their forces. As the bunker erupted in flames, the Rahn's fleet retreated, leaving Icaron 4 to the humans. The battle was over, but the cost was staggering. Of the 500 soldiers in the 77th, only 73 remained functional. The rest were either undergoing extensive regeneration or had reached the limits of their immortality. But they had won. The Rahn Dominion never recovered from the humiliation of Icaron 4. Word of the unkillable soldiers spread throughout the galaxy, earning humanity a reputation as a species not to be trifled with. While other civilizations relied on technology and strategy, humanity's greatest weapon was its indomitable will, a refusal to surrender, no matter the odds. Years later, Captain Alara Kane stood before a memorial dedicated to the fallen of the 77th. Though they could regenerate, many of her soldiers had chosen to let their final death stand, unwilling to endure the cycle any longer. Kane herself had retired, her body and mind scarred by the countless battles she had fought. As she stared at the names etched into the stone, she felt a surge of pride. The 77th Expeditionary Division had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of. They had fought, bled, and died, again and again, to protect their home. And in doing so, they had earned a place in the annals of galactic history. Humanity was fragile, yes, but they were also unbreakable, and the galaxy would never forget it.